Welcome back to the Thrive Now podcast. This is the show where I sit down with folks who are absolutely living their best lives and they want to teach you how to do exactly the same thing. And if that's you, you are in luck because today's conversation is for anyone who's ever looked at their life and thought, there has to be another way. Another way to work, another way to rest, another way to live that doesn't revolve around constant grinding, burnout, or earning your right to breathe. I'm joined with Kristina Ashley Williams. She's a psychologist, educator, design thinker, entrepreneur, and lifelong traveler. And today we are diving deep and having an honest conversation about what it means to hit reset in our lives. We talk about quitting jobs, listening to our nervous systems, reimagining work, rest as rebellion, travel as medicine, and what it looks like to design a life that actually supports your well-being. This isn't about escaping responsibility. Today, we are talking strictly about reclaiming agency over our lives. Now, before we get into today's episode, I do want to leave you with this reflection question to think about as you listen. Your question: if you removed productivity as the measure of your worth, what would your life make room for? Where could you introduce rest, art, or adventure, even in small ways, to reconnect with yourself? Now, as you listen to this episode, that question will make 100% sense. So just get a notepad, get a pencil, and let's get into it right now. Well, hello, everyone. I'm here today with Kristina, and I'm excited about this topic because me and my friends talk a lot about just like quitting our jobs and figuring life out. It's just a lot of things that go through our heads when it comes to stepping outside of a grind that we find ourselves in the United States a lot of times. I'll kick it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, Deja. I'm so appreciative. I'm Kristina Ashley Williams, and I wear a few different hats. I am a sociologist. I'm a critical race theorist. I'm an educator. I'm a design thinker. I'm a critical thinker. And of course, I'm an entrepreneur. I have been fortunate to be able to fuse all of my plethora of interests into worlds that both impact people for the better as far as like their mental health and well-being, and also helping company cultures create more accessible and inclusive environments so that their employees can have healthy mental health and well-being while working for them. And doing the spectrum of work that I've had across my career, I have held roles everywhere from being a professor at a university, training teachers on classroom management and cross-cultural education, to being a director of one of the largest after-school program organizations in our country. So I'm an expert in the youth development, adolescent development, to being a corporate trainer and helping executives and CEOs and individual contributors just create a dynamic work experience that feels like a place that like would actually make you excited and want to stay for a longer period of time and feel a sense of loyalty because it's a healthy place for you to be. So with all of that, underliningly, my core motivations are arts, culture, adventure. I know that culture is imperative for having an enjoyable experience, and culture is imperative for us to know about the world. And so both in my personal life and in my professional life, I've been fortunate to be able to like design my life around either training people on cultures or going to explore other cultures myself.
You mentioned that you did a lot. Like you've had an expansive career.
I have.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to quit things.
Yes. Okay. That was my question.
I'm not afraid to quit and try again.
When did you decide, or how do you decide to like hit pause and shift and quit, and then just completely redesign the life that you're currently living?
Yeah, listening to your nervous system, I think is imperative. I definitely have been in situations where I didn't know that I was one, in an abusive work environment, two, was extremely burnt out. Like I thought that there's just something wrong with me. I didn't realize, no, I'm in an environment that's like anxiety inducing. I'm in an unsafe place. Like my brain is reacting because this isn't a safe environment for me. And most of the time it has to do with supervisors. Like people don't normally just like quit their jobs because of like the job like not being like challenging enough for them, or even sometimes it's not even really like the money. It's like they can't stand their supervisor or some like team dynamic that is like not making them feel whole inside. Because at the end of the day, we're humans and like our emotions are going to present themselves. And if you don't feel good, you're not able to like be productive anyways. So like nobody's benefiting, the company or you personally. When I decide to like pivot to, I haven't always done it in the most secure manner, right? Like I'm not a perfect person. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what? This is so bad. I don't even have another job lined up. I just gotta go and I'm gonna figure it out, right? And you do. That's the thing. You do figure it out. It's not a smooth sailing at all, because what human experience is. But you are telling yourself and you're telling the universe, I trust myself. I know my value. I know that there's more for me out there. So I'm going to release myself of this bondage and I'm going to go find it. I'm going to go explore and I'm going to go and really take some downtime to like think about what is it that I really want. So yeah, that's my long-winded answer for that question. There's a lot more tangents to go into on that subject matter.
I do the same thing, but it wasn't until recently. I think you have to have something drastic. A lot of times you have to have something drastic that happens that pushes you towards that mindset of like, I believe in myself. I've made it this far. This is not where I'll end. There's more. There's
it's
so
like
much.
You've survived every bad thing that's ever happened to you. Like you're still here, right? And like I like to think about that paper cut theory. It's like a paper cut happens and it's like, dang, that sucks, right? It stings. But imagine hundreds, thousands of paper cuts over and over and over. That's not a small injury. That's a huge gaping open wound. And so like we have to recognize that those paper cuts are happening to our nervous system. And it's not always like a physical representation. Like sometimes things are happening to us that is impacting our brain. And I'll go into like how neuroplasticity plays into our well-being and how we do actually have capacity to like reprogram the neural pathways in our brain to heal from injuries.
Well, tell me about the sense for adventure, because you are deeply rooted in culture and art, but I know now you're no longer in the United States doing that work and you've decided to take your talents elsewhere for now. So tell me a little bit about that. How has embracing that adventure and also knowing when to pivot propelled you into the work that you do now? And what does success look like? And
so I will say I am visiting some family in the States currently.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm getting my toes wet, but you know, I watched the news, so I can't stay here too long. Okay, so I first started traveling when I was 17. Like my first solo trip was 17. I've been traveling for almost 20 years now. So like my experience of adventure looks like a traveler, not a tourist. And so like the distinction between those two things are, when people think of travel often in the United States, they have an association to like a break from your normal life, right? It's a vacation, it's a getaway, it's a short-term pause, and then you have to go back to the life that you were trying to take a break from. That's not how I travel. The way that I typically travel is an immersive experience where my life is designed around the environment that I'm in. So I'm not taking a break from life. I'm immersing in life in a new. So just how like you live at home, right? Like you've got your routines of like how you work out or how you eat or what your favorite coffee shop is, or like where you hang out with friends, what sports teams, sports leagues you are engaged with. There are hundreds, thousands of nomad communities, expat communities, immigrant communities around the world of people just like me, where our sense of adventure is either the core motivator or our sense of just need to get away from like the stressors of the States is a core motivator. All of those normal routines that we do back home, like in the States, also happen in those other places. And traveling through a traveler's mindset instead of a tourist mindset, like how that looks different is like you are staying maybe like at boutique hotels or homestays or even hostels. You are renting a home, like you're paying rent somewhere out of the country. You are part of a community. You are part of the farmer's market. You're teaching a class. You have friends at the local restaurant who know your name. There's actual like relationships that are had. I like to say, like, if you don't know who the in town are, like, you're not really part of that community.
I mean, look, when people trust you, they tell you everything.
You know, right? Exactly.
That's true. So I will say this. I know people hate on Emily in Paris, but that's kind of an example of someone coming from outside and trying to join the community, especially in the later seasons when she's taking classes to learn the language. So for people who've never had the experience of immersing yourself in a culture, that might be a starting point for you to get an idea of what that might look like. Yeah.
And here's the thing, it can be scary, right? Like you're talking to someone that's been traveling for 20 years. So like, I can survive a lot of things. And like, it's very hard to like make me feel like scared or unprepared of something. And like, I can go to foreign countries or I can go to foreign countries not fully knowing the language and survive, and go to countries where I've learned the language. Like I know Spanish, so like I'm able to travel through all of Latin America and like Spain and everything without an issue. And so when I think about this this desire for folk to transform their tourist experience into a traveler experience, what I like to offer is it can be as simple as just like changing the location that you choose to stay at. Instead of staying at that resort or staying at that like huge, like big name hotel, why don't you stay at a boutique hotel? Why don't you stay somewhere that's like a little bit smaller, that's more immersed like within the actual like community? So that way when you walk outside, you're talking with people that are like from that neighborhood, or you're asking the person like at the coffee shop for directions versus asking the hotel staff for directions. You are meeting other expats who maybe like live in that area, and like you're hearing about their experience. Because then what happens is when you're one thing that when I think about like the hotel environment is that you've got a lot catered to you as a guest of the culture. And so it's not exactly like accurate. Like I'm going to give an example. Like I stayed at a resort in Thailand, and it was for a work trip. So they hired me to come out to do a team training that was an international team training, which was super dope. And the hotel that we were at, like they were serving American food, but we were in Thailand. And I was like, dang, this actually sucks. Like this isn't like the beach is really nice. Like I love the convenience and everything. However, I saw that the team members that we were with also decided they're like, you know what, we actually really want to get off site. And like they took a couple of days and just like went into town and like explored and like immersed themselves like in the culture there. And so like as a simple change of like even just like booking a different location can make a huge difference, because you're changing your environment, and like environment is really imperative for like what your experience is going to be. The other thing I would say, understanding like there's tiers of different travel. So as a solo traveler, as a Black woman, what does that look like? How does that differ? As a first-time solo traveler, I'm not going to recommend going to somewhere that's like very dense population. Like I think about like going to China or going to India for the first time as a solo traveler. Those are probably not the best environments for you. That doesn't mean never go. That just means like there's a level of cultural competence that shows up, and it's jarring being outside of your comfort zone.
Yep.
So like if you are not familiar with how to navigate certain systems, whether you're conscious or subconsciously doing it, you're going to be critiquing a lot of things that are around you because it's new to you. Grown up and socialized within an ecosystem that like taught you that like your way is the only way and is the right way. So like you're going to be very judgmental of the other cultures. You're going to be afraid of things that you shouldn't be afraid of. You're not going to probably try as many foods as you would like to try or you should be trying. You're probably not going to like have the types of experiences that are really going to serve you. There's this term called the zone of proximal development. This is the education term, zone of proximal development. So the way it works is like you have your like comfort zone, right? It's like your inner circle. And then the next one is like your zone of learning. But then the zone that's after that is danger. You want to be in the zone of learning because if you stay within your comfort zone, you're not going to grow, right? You're not challenging yourself. You're not learning anything new. You're doing what's your routine. If you go to a place where it's like, hey, this isn't my culture. This maybe it isn't even my language. These aren't the food types I'm used to. But it's a place where you're like, okay, I actually do feel like it has a high safety rating. I feel like I see people that also are in close proximity to me where I feel like I can at least have some sense of community or like meet people easily. That's also why choosing where you stay is important. Like, it's like if you want to meet people on your trip, like the easiest place to do that is staying at a hostel or, you know, you go to a bar, go to a restaurant and like start up a conversation with peers next to you. The more that you do it, the more sense of security you have in yourself. Like you trust yourself more. The more signals you pick up on like how different social cues work in different societies and how different cultural norms show up in different societies. There's things that I do living in Costa Rica that people would be like, oh my God, that's so crazy here, like in the States, right? Like in my community, it's like, yeah, like we're either like half naked all the time or like barefoot, right? Like we live on a beach town. So it's like we're always in our bathing suits and loosely clad because it's literally a rainforest and like sunshine beaches. But you go into the grocery store with no shoes on and like that's a totally normal thing to do there. Here, you probably would get kicked out of the store for doing that. So yeah, just putting yourself in a place where like you're in your learning zone so you can get out of your comfort zone, but not too far out to the place where like it's not adventure and excitement anymore. It's danger and fear because you want to open yourself up for the sense of adventure that feels like it is helping you in your sense of well-being and also in your sense of imagination as well. But if you are in a situation that doesn't feel safe or feels like too overwhelming for you, it's going to limit your ability to actually like have the fulfilling aspect of what the trip is supposed to be meant for.
I travel a lot as well. I've been traveling probably around the same time as you. I think my first time out of the country was like 7, maybe 18, 19.
Yeah.
And then I started doing travel with friends and then friends couldn't go. And I'm like, I still want to go. So I'm going to go. I'm turned into more of like an adventurer as well. Like I have like a list of things that I do in every place that I go to. Like I'll do a cultural experience, a food making class, like a tour. So like bar tops.
Yeah.
And city tours are also good to meet people. So yeah, like once you start traveling, you'll start to be like, all right, I got my things. I can do it every place. And I know I'll meet tourists and locals by doing that.
Right.
Thing.
Right.
Yeah.
To speak to what you just said too, around like those tour experiences, like tours are so, they're such a good part of your trip.
Yes.
Obviously, like, we can go and do things just like wander out, like have your wanderlust experience and like enjoy that, see what you happen upon. That's a very important part of the trip as well.
Yes.
However, when you do tours, you're working with someone who is an expert in that region. And so like there's little like nuggets of information that there's no way you would have known without someone that has the cultural competence to actually like share that information with you. And you never know like who you'll meet on the trip. I was in Cuba one time and I was doing this like cooking class and I got off Airbnb experiences. Girl, tell me why two of the girls in my little group were from Oakland. Like they were my neighbors. We're in Havana and I'm like with my neighbors in Oakland that we'd never met there before. And that's so funny. But you'll learn new locations to go to, but you'll also learn new history points, but you'll also learn just like, even like new like language and like terms.
Yep. I do. I tell everyone to do the tour on the first day or second day so that when they get recommendations, they can actually go do the things.
That's good. That's good.
Yes. I'm right there with you. I'm a travel person. I love it. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about rest as rebellion.
Yes.
So when we hear that word, people, they take it in. They know what it means in their own words. But coming from you, what do you consider rebellion when it comes to rest?
Okay. When we think about retirement, we think of like, all right, once I retire, I'm about to be lackadaisical. Okay. Like I am chilling. Don't talk to me. Don't ask me no questions. I just want to relax. Okay. Like you see that stage of life as like this sense of freedom. You're not tied to anyone else's clock, right? You ain't got to deal with those annoying managers, like all of this stuff. And the way that we've been conditioned in the States to think about life after retirement is like, that's something that you earn.
Yeah.
That's something that like you work really long and really hard for, and then eventually you get to rest.
Yeah.
But until you've worked 60 plus years feeding into the corporations and into the capitalistic system, that is the only point that you are going to be allowed to rest without judgment.
Yeah.
So my act of resistance and my act of rebellion is like, why don't I just design my life to look like retirement now?
Yes.
What?
For it.
The hell is 2025? We literally can have entire businesses running off of Wi-Fi. We literally can have entire ecosystems like of your business like running off of the internet. Like we have access and resources to do so. Travel has opened my eyes to a lot of things that don't align with the conditioning that I grew up with. So, for example, I'm a little anti-capitalist. That's just what it is. It is what it is. Okay, look, I told you, I come from a social justice education background. It is what it is. Okay, so in the States, we are conditioned for consumerism. And part of the reason why we don't allow ourselves to rest and like why we can't rest, or we think we're socialized to think that we can't rest, is because we think that we need to be productive in order to matter in society. And we think that we need to be productive also so that we can buy things. Yeah. Because we always want like the new biggest, TV, we want the next car, we want the biggest house, we want whatever the thing is, right? We always want the bigger and better. We want to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. A lot of what travel has taught me is that like I find those things to be liabilities for me personally rather than assets. You're also speaking to someone who doesn't have a home, so take that with a grain of salt, right? Like all my belongings are in storage, and like when there's times where I'm like, dude, I actually do need to like go back to the States real quick. I'm like, hey, family member, friend, can I stay with you? So like give and take. But like overall, even when I am like staying in the States, when I look at cars, I'm like, well, cars cost a lot of money. It's not just buying the car. It's the maintenance. It's the gas. It's the parking tickets that are going to inevitably come up. It's the parking, right? It's like always something. For me, I don't own cars. I'm not a fan of cars, especially when I was living in the Bay when like Uber and Lyft like were created. So like I got very accustomed to just being able to dial up on my phone. So I don't have that pressure also of consumerism ingrained in my mind anymore, but that took unlearning and that took reprogramming my neural pathways, because I grew up in a society that told me like what makes you worthwhile and what makes you matter and have a higher social status in this country always will lead back to capitalism in some capacities, whether it's like how big your house is, how nicer car is, what your job title is. If you think about when you meet people here, one of the first questions that always comes out of people's mouth is, what do you do?
Yes.
What the? I don't hear that question not one time when I'm traveling.
I will say it depends on where you live in the US. So I'm in the Midwest, and I like the people I talk to, I have no clue what they do. They don't tell you. They don't tell you. They don't talk about it unless it comes up naturally in conversation.
Wait, I have a question. Do you know what your friends do?
Some of them, not all. Some of them.
That's so funny. I always think about that.
Like
a lot of our like friend circles, I'm like, I actually don't know. Like, I have like a general idea, but what do you actually?
Yeah, I don't, because in the beginning, yes, we were all like grinding and trying to come up together. Now I'm more about like self-actualization and then actually tapping into your skill sets and like using it for whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be work, but
right.
Happy. I've been reading books recently about like our relationship with work. There's a book called BS Jobs, and then there's another one about like removing ourselves from work. I can't remember the name. I'll drop it in the chat or comments later, but yeah, I've been going down a really, really deep rabbit hole. I'm like, how can I break my former relationship with work? And I've taken breaks. So I've done like 5-month breaks. I've done a couple month breaks. So I'm with you. Capitalism is dangerous, and I'm trying.
And it's a hard thing. Like, it's not an easy thing. I think social media makes it look like, oh my God, like, how are all these digital nomads like traveling and I've been broke in other countries. It's not like it's some like magic, like everything's gonna work out. Being an entrepreneur is not an easy thing. You don't always have customers that are paying on time. You don't always have a like steady cycle. Sometimes you have to figure it out. And so it's like, I just rather would figure it out in Thailand than I would in expensive America. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather be paying $300 for rent than like $1,300 for rent for the same thing. So like, it's just this like weighing the options. And knowing that you have options. I think one of the parts that I'm on a mission to help spread information about is what those options are. So like, for example, this upcoming June in Fittyland, my company, we are hosting the virtual travel summit, and it's 4 days. We're doing 2 weekends of like all day sessions on travel. And it's like, some days we're talking about moving abroad. So you've got like immigration lawyers telling you about visas and residency. You've got parents that are talking to you about moving their kids abroad and like either homeschooling or enrolling them in international schools. You've got law enforcement officers talking to you about like safety and well-being while traveling, like all these different like things. We've got neuroarchitects who literally study the science between like architecture and like the brain and like the benefits of travel and like seeing different like buildings and being in different environments around the world. We've got scientists and researchers talking about the science behind adventure and like what does that do for our health and well-being. And so we're bringing in like a huge breadth of knowledge, whether it's like tourism board representatives telling you about like their particular like region of expertise. We've got sessions that are focused on different types of travel. So like ecotourism or like ethical tourism, luxury tourism, etc. What it's really like being a travel influencer and like, what do they not tell you from behind the scenes? Like, I'm very grateful because I put out this call and I've had so many people want to join, and we picked our speakers. Like, this particular event, it was motivated by helping people gain access to their form of freedom through travel. And so I like to say like their form of freedom because that can look different for different people, but also at different times. Sometimes my rest looks like me being a traveler, like nomad, where like, cool, I'm here for a month and then I'm there for a month and then I'm there for 3 months, whatever. Sometimes as a traveler, I take vacations as a tourist.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's
the thing. You know, sometimes I'm like, oh, you know, I actually just need to like go to Santorini for a week or whatever. And it's like, I'm just indulging in the resort or what the nice place. But it's like, not all travel is fancy travel. Like, people that are frequent travelers are normally more low budget travelers.
I've slept in some airports.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the adventure, right? It's like that's part of the experience. And being able to disconnect our value to productivity, I think, is essential. And when you're in a new environment, you're able to see new things, which means you're able to imagine new possibilities for yourself. You're also able to observe. And one of the biggest things that occurs when you are observing, I mean, literally just like sitting out on the porch, whatever, you're seeing that other people in other countries don't have that sense of rush and urgency. And life isn't designed as you live to work, like we're conditioned in the States. And most other places, you work to live. You're not living to work. Here, so much of our time is consumed with working that like our actual like enjoyment aspect ends up being sacrificed, minimized, or even threatened because we feel guilty for resting or we'll feel guilty for like not being as productive. And it's like, yeah, but like, did you enjoy the sunset or did you take a dip in that ocean and like see any fish? That's one of my favorite things to do in Costa Rica, go snorkeling. Did you try a new dessert at that local cafe? Like that's using a local fruit that you've never tried before? Like what are the lived experiences that you deserve? But you've been conditioned to think that like you have to forfeit them because you haven't earned them because you weren't productive enough.
Yeah.
You know?
We start to tie like a reward system to rest and to pleasure and to whatever else that doesn't equal like a job. Basically, we turn everything into a job.
Right.
It's really, really hard. I spent some time in South America. Like I left the US and I was like, I'm tired of living in my city. And I was there for like 3-4 months and I came back. And the first place I hit was New York. And people were just trying to sell me stuff. It was loud.
As soon as you get to the airport, it's just nonstop propaganda.
Like it's too loud.
Oh my God.
The guy came up to me. He was like, take this tour, do this thing. I was like, I don't want it. I don't want it. And then he was like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from the US, but like this is too much. Like going from like quiet to loud, it was just too much. I was like,
you know what gets me sometimes too, depending on where I'm at, because obviously like lots of places around the world have cities, have big cities. But I remember one time I had come back from Costa Rica and I went to New York. And I love New York, but the juxtaposition of like literally being in a jungle where I'm surrounded by greenery and bird noises and like nature to like then going to the concrete jungle. I had a headache straight for a week and I was like, yo, this is wild. And I remember actually feeling nauseous.
Really?
I felt nauseous because of just like the psychological intake of like the imagery that I'm seeing from like just all the stale gray and like all the color was removed. I just came from a vibrant jungle and like was thrown into grays and browns and just very like uninspiring color as far as like the infrastructure, not the people.
Well, parts of New York remind me of Gotham City. I don't want to talk bad about
noises, the smell.
I'm like, I went and I was like, wait, it feels like I'm in a Netflix filming right now. What is this? But I know something like, about New York. Look, if you're from New York, I know you love it.
I was going to say, and then it's like, so it's like, I had that experience, but then I also was going to museums and going to restaurants and like hanging out with friends. And so it's like that reinvigorates that like nourishing part of the trip. But I do remember like environmentally, my brain was like, whoa, time out. I wanted to say one thing about the working remote thing. Working remote or working abroad doesn't have to just be a remote job. It doesn't have to be on your laptop. You can do work with a work visa in other countries as well, whether you're working in business or you're working in education, whatever it is. But you also can be an entrepreneur in that country as well. So like you can start a business, you can start a restaurant, you can start a yoga training for locals there. Whatever it is that you would do in the States, you can do it there as well. You just have to go through the proper channels. But also if you're going somewhere that has an expat community, you've already got a network of people that have like some shared like cultural relationship to, whether you've met them in your WhatsApp group or you've met them in your Facebook group or what have you. If you're in an expat community, you have people to directly market to as well. And there's an easier support system than a lot of times what we'll see being able to get off the ground in the States.
That makes sense. And there are countries too. I know Australia and New Zealand have sort of like a holiday work type of thing that they do. I just know if you're from the US and you're like 18 to 30, you
like
can apply to be, it's like an exchange work program. So I was looking into it at one point in my younger years. But now I'm like, it's all right. I can just visit. But for anyone who wants to work abroad and like needs a way to move abroad, that could be.
Like, I've taught English in Spain while I was in college. I lived in Spain. I'm trying to think what other jobs I've had abroad. I guess everything else has been on my computer, but like I've seen peers like start weed company.
Yeah, look, if it's legal, it's legal.
Yeah, they just made it legal. I've seen people start restaurants and start gyms. Like, there's lots of opportunity.
I want to give you the opportunity to talk more about like the neural pathways in your brain. I know that's very, very important.
It is.
And then you talked a little bit about Infinity Land, but we can go a little bit more into that as well.
Okay, so Infinity Land is on a mission.
Yes.
We're on a mission to provide more access to arts and adventure for healthy minds and healthy lifestyles, because we're living in the most anxiety-ridden, depression-having generation in human history.
And lonely.
What happened during the pandemic was like we all had a pause at the same time. And a lot of those things we've been suppressing had time to actually like come back up. Yeah. And they like boiled over because we weren't distracted with like the hustle and bustle and the productivity, because like we're all like down for the count, right? So like the catalyst of the pandemic has led to a scenario today where rates of anxiety and depression and other sorts of mental health challenges such as PTSD, people experiencing grief, but also elders that are dealing with dementia, that are dealing with Alzheimer's. Like there's a lot of brain activity that's going on that needs support. And so where Infinity Land comes in is we are creating these arts and adventure programs for people to engage with holistic care for their health care. So right now we are building out a network. So we're starting with our pilot programming currently for art therapy that serves all ages, right? So we're able to provide care for youth, for college students, for adults, for elders, etc., where they're able to engage in art programming, but also have a clinical physician on site as well, where they're creating plans for their healing process and they're able to track their progress. So for examples would be like your cousin who is dealing with anxiety in high school is able to take a music class and write lyrics to help process their feelings. Your brother who maybe has just gone through a breakup or is trying to manage their OCD is able to engage in a pottery class to help feel more grounded and reprogram their brain in that sense of control over their life. Your dad, who may be a vet, is able to take dance classes that helps them feel back in tune with their body when they have been subjected to triggers that are a result of the PTSD that they've had from being in the military, right? Maybe your grandma is showing like early signs of her brain capacity changing, and so like taking a visual arts class is helping in keeping her brain active and catalyzing signals to go off because of color patterns and different theories she's learning about how the colors mix. So like there's a lot of amazing work that's happening at Johns Hopkins University, at the University of Florida as well. as far as what the neural arts are. And so it's this relationship between how neuroscience, which is brain science, relates with art, and how if we just go back to our natural state of being, like what holistic care teaches us, what our indigenous communities teach us, why I felt so intuitively inclined to live in a place like Costa Rica, or to travel to places where I get to immerse myself in incredible architecture, where I get to hear music from instruments that I've never seen before. Did you know Thailand has a whole Thai jazz genre? It's amazing.
Send me a playlist. Send me a playlist.
Every genre now. Like, being able to put myself in a position to have those experiences came for me intuitively to do them, because I felt extremely burnt out from my previous tech startup, and not just like from the entrepreneurial aspect of it, but the ecosystem of venture capitalists, and always having to talk about money and it consuming the work rather than the work that I started it out for, which was doing diversity, equity, inclusion, and like humanistic, cultural compassion work, was getting drowned out by this world of capitalism. And my salvage became travel and experiencing art in those adventurous places. So the one aspect of Infinity Land is creating these arts programs that, as we're fundraising currently for our facilities design, our core pillars of our design process is also to integrate the industry calls neuroarchitecture, which is an architectural design that is built to provide sensory well-being. So if you think about what you just said, right? Like, going to New York can be a little bit loud, can be a little bit like overwhelming, a little distracting. Like, imagine going into a facility. You've got biophilic design, which means like nature-inspired design. And what you see visually feels good to your brain. What you hear feels good to your brain. What you smell feels good to your brain. All of these different like cues are adding to the element of healing, in addition to the art therapy that you're experiencing. And then we'll also be hosting, which we're already doing now, our international retreat, so we can take people to new cultures and experience art around the world, but also experience nature around the world as well. So that's what I'm doing with Infinity Land. And my personal experience with anxiety and depression and burnout led me down this path to want to stay true to my values and my core and how I see the world and what I want for the world. And do it in a way that like helps other people feel happy, healthy, and healed.
See, I've been really obsessed with people who are living permissionlessly. And I don't think a lot of times, like, yes. A lot of times we feel like we have to ask permission to do these things, like what you built and what you are building. And then I love talking to people who so clearly are living in their purpose. Like, I think this is purpose work, and all the things that you've been doing has led you to this moment, and will lead you as you keep building.
I wanted to share this message for anyone who feels weary or timid to really live in their truth. I have seen and heard everything across the spectrum for my lifestyle, right? Some people look at me and they're like, wow, like, you're so free. Like, you literally, like, you live on your own terms. You go where you want. You're not afraid. You're informed and educated about peoples of the world, about cultures of the world. You're actually curious about them, like, you care to know, right? But on the other hand, I've also heard things like, you're running. Like, what are you always chasing? You're only traveling because like you're doing it for attention, or like whatever the things you hear. So I just wanted to share that, because like, people are always going to have something to say. And whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, it has nothing to do with you. Like, people are living in their own world with their own lived experiences. And sometimes it's projection on you because you're living something that like they aren't or haven't had the opportunity to. Sometimes it's care for you, but there's just like a fear of an unknowing, and so there's like assumptions that are made, right? Sometimes there's admiration that's coming. Sometimes people have you up on a pedestal and you're like, I'm actually not that great. I actually like, things aren't perfect.
Yes.
Like I told you, like I've been broke abroad. Okay. I've been financially great abroad. I've been broke abroad. Like,
yes,
life. It's life.
yes.
And however someone interprets your life is none of your business. It really, like, it has more to do with them and like their perspective and their lived experiences. But like, don't let their experience of their world influence how you experience your world.
I love that.
Because those are two different things.
I love that.
Completely different things.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. One last question. If someone wants to create their own version of Infinity Land with the resources that they have, and they're not able to connect with your company right this minute, what's something that people can do in their own lives to rewire their brains to bring a little bit more adventure and art into their world?
Oh, I love that. I think that you can either create something yourself for your community. For example, it could be something super, super low budget, low maintenance. One of my homegirls right now, she's putting together like collage meetup. She's renting out an ice cream shop and she got some magazines donated from like the local library or something. And she's getting a group of people to just go make collages. And she's using it as part of her grieving process from a recent loss. And like, she's inviting other people to join in the creativity with her. And what I think is really cool is like, she's doing it in an unexpected place. Like, you get to go make art in an ice cream shop? What? That's so cool.
That's actually really smart. And then it's
like, really cool.
It was in new ice cream places each month.
Yeah.
That'd be like so cool too.
Like, it's so fun. Get a little DJ. Like, It's a vibe. It's totally a vibe. So I think that when like, you just like throwing spaghetti at the wall, using your imagination, get inspiration from Pinterest, see what's on Airbnb experiences and see what you can do yourself. But also, you can buy the tours and the activities that are on Airbnb experiences. You can also check out Viator that has tons of great tours as well. And what's that one called? The orange one's like something guide. I'm forgetting. There's lots of
Get your guide.
Get your guide. Get your guide has great experiences. But like, see if like either do it yourself because you can be a tourist around your own community. Like go and check out your city. Just go to a different hotel. Go to a hotel that like may have some really cool features you didn't know about. Like you're not staying there overnight. Maybe you're going there to admire the architecture or the art that's on the wall. They might have like a lot of hotels have galleries that are in them. Like go check out the gallery at the hotel. Sometimes it's like in the unobvious places. Like when I source inspiration, I find it in a lot of different ways. Like sometimes you'll find me at like a car museum, just studying the curvature and the color palettes and like the history. Like I love reading the little placards that like talk about like the history of like the design development. Going to a music museum. There's a music museum in Hollywood that's super dope. One time I flew to Switzerland to go to a chair museum.
Oh.
And it was the coolest museum.
You flew just for the museum.
Because I was going to Interlaken, but like went to Basel first because I wanted to go to a couple of the museums that were near.
I love that. That sounds like something I would do. I fly places just for one experience, and then I build my trip around that one experience.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just like wow. And then wandering is a huge important part of having that lived experience. Not having a plan, but literally just going outside and seeing what you happen upon, like going down a new street, walking into a new store, seeing what's interesting in the bookstore. Maybe there's just like, maybe you're not trying to buy the book, but maybe you're just getting inspired by the book covers.
Yep.
There may be a title that you're just like, oh, that made me spark an idea about something. Like there's inspiration all around us. And you can use it for your own well-being and your own good. Or you can also, if you want to, you don't have to because it's your life, right? But like if you want to, you can also create something where it's like you invite others to also experience the creativity with you as well. But you have to be an artist to be creative.
Everybody's creative.
Everyone's creative. Yeah. And like we all have art in us. It's like it's the language of our soul. And so it's just about like finding your right medium. You may not be able to draw. I can't draw. I can't sing. But like I'm an incredible photographer.
Yeah,
I'm a portrait photographer. I've been featured in my previous life as an artist. I've been featured in several exhibitions, and like I love the work of like filmmaking. I love studying film and the behind the scenes components of it. And yeah, just find your thing. There's lots of things.
I love that. I feel like you've lived many lives and you don't talk about it all the time.
I know. You know, part of my burnout, I was like, I kind of was like totally cut back from my presence on social media because I had gone like really, really hard. And I realized I just didn't care about other people's opinions about my life. And I want to say this too. There was a part of me that didn't feel like what I was sharing, particularly of my travels on social media, was aligning with my values. There are travel content creators that are doing incredible work and making beautiful content and doing like really informative content and all of that. What I was finding was that while I was traveling for my personal interest, it was getting interrupted by me trying to film something so I could share it with other people who weren't there for them to like look at it for 3 seconds and then swipe by it. And I'm like, that actually isn't in alignment. And I actually am not traveling to impress other people. I'm traveling because it's actually a medicine for me. And so like now I'm able to start talking more about how it's a medicine for me. And I've built a company around it so I can help other people experience the medicine.
I love that. Yeah. And now you just spoke to something for me because when I travel, I'll post about it on my stories and I'll like, it's almost like a journal, like, oh, this is what I'm eating right now. And like, wait, that tastes interesting and that tastes interesting, but I'll never post it on my feed. Like if you don't watch my story, you'll never ever see it. You'll never ever know that I went. So yes,
quick window. Right. And I fall into it.
I feel like what you said resonates with me. Like, I don't want to spend my time like trying to capture it. And if I'm capturing it, it's for me and my journal and my experience, but that's it.
It's funny now because like now I've traveled on and off for like different reasons, right? Either it's like studying abroad or going to live in Hawaii for a little bit. Working on a Disney cruise ship.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That was here too. And I did.
That was the coolest experience. I know you cannot remember. Yeah, like all these different things. But then also, once the pandemic hit, I became a full-on digital nomad and was like, I don't even want a home. I am going out and about. I did that. And now I've got like 3 to 4 years of content that some of it's been shared, is just archived, but a good majority of it hasn't been shared.
Yeah.
Which also is a point I want to make about not needing instant gratification, because now I have a story to tell and I've got all of this content that I'm able to use as part of the storytelling. And it gets to be a longer narrative than the like snapshots of like those in the moment moments. So that I'm really excited about.
Sounds like a documentary is coming.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm excited.
All right. Well, look, I will let you go. Tell everyone where they can find you, connect with you, get engaged with your company, all the things.
Yeah. So our website is toinfinityland.com. Think like to infinity and beyond. And then I am available on Instagram at Kristina with a K. .fyi. So if you just type in Kristina with a K, .fyi, you'll find me. A big yellow background. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Kristina Ashley Williams, and I am on TikTok at Kristina.fyi as well. So I'm very appreciative of you holding this space for me to share a little bit about my journey. And I'm still unraveling it. I'm starting a new startup now, and it's very ambitious and it's dealing with healthcare and arts and real estate. So lots of stuff ahead of me, but I hope that I'm able to support you in your journey, and just continue to like uplift each other.
Yes, for sure. And keep us updated. Like I need the director's cut of all the things that's happening in your world. It sounds really exciting and I'm proud of you.
Thank you,
following you.
If this conversation stayed with you, let it. Not everything needs to be rushed into action. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is notice what no longer fits and listen when your nervous system asks for something gentler, slower, or more alive. Before you go, leave a comment, rate the episode, and add your dream to the dream database. Not for the algorithm, but for yourself. You're allowed to want ease, you're allowed to want adventure, and you're allowed to build a life that feels like home. I hope you enjoyed the episode today. Until next time, please go out and thrive now.